Dreaming of that new car smell but worried about wrecking your budget? What if I told you that your salary doesn't have to limit your options, but it should guide your choices? In fact, with the right approach and some clever strategies, you can definitely drive away in a great car without driving your finances off a cliff. Now stick around, because in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll reveal how much car you can actually afford based on your salary, plus some tips and tricks to get the most bang for your buck. Alrighty, let's dive in. Buying a car is often the second biggest purchase people make after a home. But with car prices soaring and interest rates fluctuating, it's easy to get lost in the numbers. Today, we're going to cut through the noise and focus on how much car you can realistically afford based on your salary. And we'll walk through some key rules of thumb, break down the cost beyond just the sticker price, and sprinkle in some money-saving hacks and tips on finding the right car for your budget. While these next 6 tips will be incredibly helpful with how much car you can actually afford, hang in there until the end for a special bonus tip you may not have considered. Tip number 1. Let's start with a popular guideline: the 20-4-10 rule. This rule suggests you should make a 20% down payment, finance the car for no more than 4 years, and keep your total monthly vehicle expenses under 10% of your gross income. Let's break this down with an example. Say you're making $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month gross income, and 10% of that is $500. This means your total monthly vehicle expenses, including your car payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance, should be no more than $500. Now, let's say $150 of that goes to insurance, gas, and maintenance. That leaves $350 for your car payment. And with a 20% down payment and a 4-year loan at 5% interest, you could afford a car worth about $23,000. Now here's a hack. If you can make a larger down payment or find a lower interest rate, you could afford a more expensive car while still sticking to this rule. Another way to stretch your budget is by looking for cars with lower insurance cost or better fuel efficiency. This can free up more of your 10% for the actual car payment. Now, if you thought tip number 1 was helpful with how much car you can actually afford, this next rule is another perspective and one to consider as well. And it's the 35% rule. This guideline suggests that your car's purchase price should be no more than 35% of your annual income. For example, if you make $40,000 a year, your car should cost no more than $14,000. At $60,000 a year, you're looking at a maximum of $21,000. And if you're earning $100,000, you could consider cars up to $35,000. Now here's a hack for getting more car for your money. Consider buying a used car that's 2 to 3 years old. You'll avoid the steepest part of the depreciation curve while still getting a relatively new vehicle. And this is huge. When you drive those things off the lot, that price plummets considerably depending on the model of car that you get. And of course, when you're still finding things tight, always look into the certified pre-owned vehicles. These often come with warranties and have been thoroughly inspected in most cases, giving you a peace of mind with your used car purchase. And if you thought tip number 2 was informative with how much car you can actually afford, wait until you see what tip 3 explains. But first, if you're new to the channel and you love learning about smart money moves, smash that subscribe button. Now, tip number 3 is all about looking beyond the sticker price. When figuring out how much car you can afford, you need to consider the total cost of ownership.
Consider the phone.
This includes depreciation, insurance, fuel, maintenance and repairs, taxes, and fees. Let's break this down with an example. Say you're looking at a $25,000 car. Over 5 years, here's what you might expect to pay. The depreciation, $12,500, losing actually half of its value. And then the insurance, which is $6,000 approximately, or $100 a month. Fuel, again, depending on your vehicle, $7,500 or $125 a month. And then maintenance and repairs, which could be $3,000, even more, maybe in some cases less if you have a very dependable car, but on average about $3,000. And then taxes and fees of about $2,000. And that's a total of $31,000 over 5 years, or $6,200 per year on top of your car payments. And again, here's a hack. Use online tools like Edmunds True Cost to Own Calculator to estimate these costs before you buy. This can help you compare different models and make a more informed decision. And remember, some cars depreciate faster than others or have higher maintenance costs. So do your research to find models known for reliability and good resale value. Now, if you thought tip number 3 was eye-opening with how much car you can actually afford, check out the next way to look at your car budget. Now, let's talk about the monthly payment trap. Many dealerships focus on the monthly payment rather than the total cost of the car. This can lead you to spend more than you intended. For example, a $25,000 car with a 4-year loan at 5% interest would cost about $575 per month. But extend that to 6 years and the payment drops to $402. Sounds great, right? But you'll end up paying about $1,400 more in interest over the life of the loan. And to avoid this trap, always negotiate based on the total price of the car, not the monthly payment. Once you've agreed on a price, then discuss financing terms. Or if you're comfortable with the math, you can use the monthly payment to your advantage. And calculate the total cost of the loan based on the monthly payment they offer and see if it matches the agreed upon price of the car plus reasonable interest. Now, if avoiding the monthly payment trap seems challenging, I guarantee you this next tip should be worth considering. Now, while trying to figure out how much car you can actually afford, you might be focused solely on buying. But tip number 5 is all about considering leasing as an option. Leasing can allow you to drive a more expensive car for a lower monthly payment. However, it's important to understand the trade-offs. The pros of leasing: lower monthly payments. You can drive a new car every few years, which I love, and they're often covered by warranty for the entire lease. Now, the negatives or cons of leasing: some will say that, of course, you don't have any ownership at the end of the lease. I don't particularly find that the case, because that's the whole reason why you're leasing the car. But you do need to consider the mileage restrictions. Now, those are actually negotiable. But yes, if you go over mileage, then you're going to have excess costs. Sometimes those can be high. Make sure that you're looking at the contract and what those mileage costs are after you go over that. Again, negotiate those mileage restrictions. Whether it's 10,000 miles per year, 12,000, 15, you can negotiate all that. Of course, that's going to change the pricing, of course. But make sure, again, that you're going in there prepared. If you're going to do a lease, how much do you typically drive each year? All of those little factors that you can, again, negate before signing that dotted line, etc. And of course, potentially more expensive in the long run. That, again, is if you make, in my opinion, some mistakes like buying the car at the end of the lease. I don't think that's a wise idea. Again, if you're going in for a lease, make sure that you lease the car and then get out of it. It's just about having a payment that you're comfortable with. You're going to be driving a brand new car or a new car for the next 3, maybe 4 years, and you're going to be able to turn it in. Again, you've got warranty. In a lot of cases, you have maintenance that's included, oil changes, all that kind of good stuff that you don't have to worry about. So again, look at all the details. But that is, in my opinion, why it wouldn't be more expensive. But it can if you make a bad decision and you end up purchasing that car. You're going to pay a lot more than if you would have just actually financed it or paid cash, etc. All those kind of things. And I talk actually about those differences between financing, paying cash, or leasing a vehicle. I'll leave that up actually here in the video above for another one that you can check out that goes in a little more detail about those different purchasing options or leasing options, etc. Here's another little hack for you. If you're self-employed or use your car for business, leasing might offer some tax advantages. I know that's a big one for me, and that's one of the other main reasons why I lease vehicles. But it's very important that you always consult with a tax professional to understand your specific situation. And don't forget to negotiate your lease terms, just as you would when buying. The capitalized cost, or essentially the price of the car, and the money factor, similar to an interest rate, are both negotiable. The mileage, many things that in a lease that you can negotiate. You're not stuck to, hard terms, basically. And figure out what makes sense for your budget. And again, whether you want to have that newer vehicle and you do have the budget for that, again, might be a really, really good option for you. But if you're set on buying rather than leasing, then don't miss tip number 6. And our 6th tip is all about exploring all your financing options. Don't just take the dealership's offer without shopping around. Now, here's a breakdown of your main options. Number 1 is banks. And they often offer competitive rates, especially if you're an existing customer. And number 2 is credit unions. They typically offer the lowest rates, but you need to be a member. So become a member. It's not that hard. You just go in, sign some paperwork, and tell them you're going to be their most dedicated member and you're going to bring them all kinds of business and whatnot. No, you don't have to do that. It's really easy. Just go in and become a member. Have that in your back pocket as an option. Number 3 is online lenders. These, of course, are convenient and often have quick approval processes. And then number 4, dealerships, which can be competitive, especially with manufacturer incentives, but be very wary of marked up rates. Me personally, I get pre-approved for a loan before going to the dealership, even regardless whether I'm going to lease, finance, whatever it may be. That way I just I have an idea and I'm pre-approved, and that gives me, again, another card in my back pocket to throw out there in case I need it. Of course, this gives you a benchmark also to compare against the dealer's financing offer, and can also give you more negotiating power, of course, right? That's why we've got that card in our back pocket. We want to go in there for the best deal. Now, another pro tip, check your credit score too before applying for those loans. The better your score, of course, the better the rates you'll qualify for. So if your score needs work, then again, this is something where you might consider waiting a few months and taking steps to improve it before car shopping. And that's strongly what I recommend on all of my other videos that are talking about finances, right? We want to improve our credit. We want to make sure that, again, we have the most buying power and keep those interest rates lower. I mean, that's just the smartest money move that you can make, okay? That's what I'm here to be teaching you, financial education. Anyway, if you found these tips helpful so far in learning how much car you can actually afford, you're going to love this next bonus tip. Consider the true 50% rule. This rule states that you shouldn't buy a car that costs more than 50% of your annual income. But here's the kicker. This 50% should cover the total cost of ownership for 5 years, not just the purchase price. And here's why it's brilliant. It forces you to consider all the costs we discussed earlier, not just the sticker price. This gives you a much more realistic picture of what you truly can afford. Now, let's break it down with an example. Say you make $60,000 a year. 50% of that is, of course, $30,000. Over 5 years, that's $6,000 per year you can spend on your car. Now, remember our total cost of ownership breakdown from earlier, right? If you can find a car where all those costs, depreciation, insurance, fuel, maintenance, etc., add up to $6,000 or less per year, you're in good shape. This method might lead you to choose a less expensive car than other rules suggest, but it ensures that your car expenses won't overwhelm your budget. So there you have it. 6 essential tips plus a bonus strategy for figuring out how much car you can afford based on your salary. Remember, the right amount to spend on a car is not just about what you can pay each month, but what makes sense for your overall financial health. Let's recap our key points. The 20-4-10 rule provides a good starting point, but the 35% rule offers a quick way to estimate your budget. But always consider the total cost of ownership too. Beware of the monthly payment trap, and then consider leasing if it fits your lifestyle. And explore all financing options. And finally, strongly consider the true 50% rule for a realistic budget. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more smart money tips. And hey, leave a comment below telling us what percentage of your income you think is reasonable to spend on a car. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best car for you is one that fits your lifestyle without wrecking your budget. Drive safely, and I'll see you in the next video.